Bang. Okay. Connecting streaming software. Excellent connection. All right, there we go. We're live.
We are live?
Yep. It looks
Okay.
like it on my end. 13
Yep.
seconds in.
Cool. I can't see it on my end, so hopefully we all look good. All right.
All right.
Today we're going to be talking about sales call structure. We have a very special kind of guide for you guys as well. This is one of our, everybody that works with us at AR, this is one of their favorite kind of calls, and because people just feel awkward about selling. I feel like that's the biggest part of it is a lot of us, especially if we're not having a high volume of sales calls and don't have a ton of reps, it just feels awkward to sell, especially to your warm environment and warm people around you, like family and friends, that you're typically trying to sell to at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we did was we created a sales call structure worksheet that we give out to all of our clients at AR Funnel. And we regularly teach on this worksheet and we take people through exactly what it looks like to run our sales calls successfully and in a way that actually disarms kind of like the awkward feeling the lead might be feeling on, can I afford this? Is this right for me? Is this, when is he going to hit me with the price tag? And the awkwardness that we might be feeling, wondering all the same stuff. Like, when are we going to pitch them? How are they going to feel? Are they going to react? Is it going to be too much? Are they going to get angry, sad, tell me to screw off? Like, what is going to happen whenever I say this number? So we created this worksheet and we're going to kind of take you guys through it today. But down in the description before we hop in, you guys can just tell us where to send it, and then we'll send you over the worksheet down below in the description.
Yep.
So,
And if
Mike,
you would,
anything
guys,
you want to say before?
yeah, like, subscribe, share if you found this useful with somebody that you know is in the space that also could use it. We're here to help. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the support. It's been an amazing year, and looking forward to crushing it next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so when we talk about structuring our sales calls, really, again, the goal of this type of a structure, or I guess solidifying something, if you're just kind of winging it right now in your sales calls, is it's going to take the anxiety out of it, right? One of the most common struggles that we hear about from coaches on the sales process is struggling to ask for money on the sales call. They get too far down the rabbit hole of small talk and diagnosing problems and maybe even starting to coach, and then they feel super awkward transitioning to a financial conversation.
Mm-hmm.
This structure is going to fix that for you. All right. What we figured out is by simply structuring your sales calls the way that we teach, you can remove the power, stress, and anxiety from the call for both you and the prospect. All right, so we want to remove the uneasiness on your end about making the pitch and on the client's end about receiving the pitch. And we want to align you and the prospect on a path towards a common goal, which is going to be finding a way to work together as coach and client. So you'll see it in the worksheet as you get in. We help you actually come up with the script, but we're going to actually start before the call. So, Felicity, what are a couple of things that people can be doing before the call to set up for success on the call itself?
Yeah. So think about like kind of like if you're just going to a doctor's office, they ask you a bunch of questions beforehand to get you some information on you. Same thing before you hop on these calls, you want to look into your prospects. So, looking into things like their social media and reading the application that they submit before booking that call with you. Those are two things that are super crucial because you can start bringing up, like, when you hop on that call to break the ice, things from their social media or family or dogs or whatnot, just to get on some common ground where they're like, wow, I'm feeling like I am being noticed at this
Yep.
moment. And that, again, really helps with just the relationship and communication between you and that prospect at that moment. And then, of course, the application is crucial because you're able to ask any questions that we currently have on our application form to get some back end information, like where they're currently at and where they want to go in their fitness and nutrition.
Yeah. And the application is such I love what you said about the social media because it's important. Like, if they booked a call with us, and especially if it came through social media, it's so huge for them to just even get some attention from you, someone they look up to, someone they want to be like. But on the application side, it is crucial. I know this sounds very, very simple and like a no-brainer, but it is crucial for you to look at the application before you talk to the person.
Yes.
Okay? Because I can't tell you how many coaches I've watched that just think that they're great enough at sales, and we all get that in our head at some point. but they just think that they're great enough at sales to just wing it when they get on the call and look at the application in real time. And if you end up asking a question that's already been answered in the application, obviously, right? Or if you end up saying something or contradicting something they've already answered in the application, that just tells me as the prospect, you didn't care enough to even look my way before the
Mhm.
call. I'm just another number. You're just here trying to sell me in real time. So look at the application before the call so that you can actually bring up some details, and it's going to make on their end, it's going to make them feel like you care about them that much more. I see that you had a surgery like 6 weeks ago. How are you feeling recovering from that? What was the surgery about? As opposed to, well, them getting into 3/4 into the call. Anything else you want to ask me or tell me about? Well, I don't know if you saw my application, but I had a surgery. Do we need to talk about that? And then you're like, crap. You've just completely ruined the vibe of the whole conversation. Mike, did you want to add something there?
Yeah, it's what Alex Mosey said, 5 minutes of preparation. But, I wanted you to basically put a number to that to where it's like 5 minutes of preparation make an extra 50 grand. And that's simply just because you're just going to have more people that are instantly, because you can't help somebody if you actually try to help them versus just a guy, I'm going to try to sell them. Right? And I noticed
Yeah.
the difference between I talk to fitness coaches even, right? Let's say as far as a demo call on what it is we do or a sales call of some degree. It's like I've had that to where it's like, so why are we on this call today? And they're like, well, yesterday when I texted you, I told you that I was like, oh, when you text my setter that I didn't go back and look at because I didn't care enough to look because insert because I'm busy or I had a call leading up to this one, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like those notes should be down, they should be taken, they should be reviewed prior to the call. And so one of those things can be, hey, you got 4 calls today? Don't wait until the call to look at it. Like review those applications now. Be thinking about it. Like go to
Mm-hmm.
their Instagram and like certain things on their page and like engage with things prior to even getting close to the sales call. Because that way it shows like we're involved with this person before we even get on a call.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many, because of all the touch points that we've built in, from whether it is some sort of automation that may or may not be completely visible that it's an automation, or whether it's through us putting our own manual touch points in, or different employees putting in different touch points. I can't tell you how many times, every single time that we post a welcome to AR Funnel like story on our page, I I DM the coach on top of that, and I say, "Hey, we're so excited to have you. Well, welcome to the team." And I can't tell you how many people will respond to that and be super, super grateful and like, "Wow, this is just so different." Like I had a guy yesterday that responded, "Welcome to the team, Jeremy, by the way." And Jeremy was like, "This is why you guys are the best, because you guys actually care. You just took the time to text me and DM me." Like those things go so far with people. Value sometimes is in the inefficiencies.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, all right. So we've talked about before the call. We want to read their application. We want to look at their social media. On the call, the start of the call is the most crucial part of this entire structure. All right. I always like to make this comparison. We want it to feel like whenever they get on this call, you're reaching your hand out, grabbing them by the hand, and you're going to walk them through this process, because it is a little bit scary. There's a lot of insecurity tied up in it. They're going to tell you all their deepest, darkest insecurities, and then you're going to have to try to tell them that, hey, that is, not a desirable spot that you're in. I can help you get to a more desirable spot. And that's a sometimes touchy conversation. So what we want to do starting out is I like to kind of lead in typically. I personally need somebody to laugh early on in the call for me to feel comfortable. I don't know why it is. I think it's a character flaw of mine, but I need to kind of disarm people. So one thing that I do, especially with all women that I'm talking to, if I'm going to be selling a woman on fitness or weight loss or something like that, I relatively early on bring up my wife, right? I make sure this thing is showing a little bit, because that just makes them feel a little more comfortable. And I don't want that to, whatever perceived value they might have of a guy trying to sell a girl something, I don't want that to get in the way. So I'm going to talk about my wife. I'm going to maybe relate something they said to, like, my wife tells me all the time. That's exactly how she feels. I know. And then I'll go into it. And then that kind of disarms them and makes them feel a little more comfortable. So that's a little tip for if you're a guy trying to sell girls. But if you are, at a bare minimum, what we want to do is try to not just jump straight into business. We want to ask like a non-fitness related question that we can relate on based on looking at their social media or based on reading over their application. Easy ones are talking about maybe something about their name. For example, my name's got 2 K's in it. So if I see a name that's got any type of weird spelling or could be misconceived as something else, I always say like, hey, I just want to make sure before I say it, how do you pronounce your name? I hate when people mispronounce mine. I get it all the time. And they always laugh like, oh my God, it is so annoying, isn't it? I'm like, yes, I know. So want to get yours right. And then that's kind of something we can connect on. Other easy ones are wherever they live, ask them where they live. You've either been there or you've not been there. If you've been there, oh my gosh, I know about this restaurant or this thing down the street. Like, I love it there, or I love the weather. If you've not been there, what's it like there? And then they talk about something that we can now connect on for a second. Okay. But after that, what we want to do, we're going to set the agenda for the call. So what this can look like is basically we're going to give them a precursor to what the call is going to be. So, Mike, how these calls typically go, to give you a little bit of background, is I have a few questions that I would love to ask you to get some more information based on your application. And then I'm sure you're probably going to have questions for me based on what it looks like to even work together. And then after that, we can talk about pricing and all that fun stuff towards the end. Does that sound good? They're going to say yes, right? And then you're going to give them the goal of the call. The goal of the call is super crucial as well. So the goal of this call overall, though, is finding a way to work together. Hopefully that's your goal too. And they're going to say yes again. So now I've gotten 2 yeses, which Felicity, I want you to talk about micro commitments in a second. But I also now just aligned us, prospect and coach, side by side, heading towards a common goal. We just agreed our goal is working together. That's a completely different spot from seller and sellee, where we're kind of adversaries. Now we're on a common goal towards a common path of working together as clients. So they're going to be a little more open to talking at the end, figuring out a way to make this happen. So why is it important that we already have 2 yeses though, Felicity?
Yeah, so micro commitments, what Baker was bringing up is that we're getting someone into the mindset of saying yes. And once we do that, when it comes to the end of the call, once we establish the offer, like, does that sound good? They're more likely to say yes because they're in the yes mindset. If we're getting them into a no mindset, then they're going to automatically start to build up this wall and they're going to want to say no to the end when we proceed to give them their offer. And you're going to realize when we go throughout the sales call structure is that, yes, we start offering or giving them, start precursoring them with some questions in the beginning to get them into the yes mindset. We'll ask them like the questions in the middle, which we'll go through soon. And then at the end, we have a few yeses there as well to, again, bring them back into that yes mindset. Because the more often that they say yes, the bigger of the chance they're going to say yes at the very end to your offer and join your team.
Yeah, and it takes a little bit of just kind of practice, but even something as simple as, are you feeling like good in your own skin right now? And them saying no.
Yeah.
That still plays a role into them being in a no mindset, because now we're going to start answering no questions, right? But instead of saying, so it sounds like you don't really feel good in your own skin right now. Do you feel like that's accurate? Yes. Okay, we want to keep them saying yes the whole time because, again, it's more likely they're going to say the big yes at the end. So,
and then also, too, like when they make a statement, even repeating that and saying, am I understanding you correct?
Yeah.
Like you don't feel comfortable in your own skin. That's what I saw in the application. Is it right? Yes. So it's just like repeating their own things to them. So it basically just validates that they're feeling heard and seen, but also too just pulls them forward of like, yep, and it's one step closer. Yep, one step closer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So again, to recap that agenda, which is very important, essentially at its core, I ask you questions, you ask me questions, we talk pricing. Those are the 3 things. For the majority of all of you guys listening, I would say 95% of people in the industry, that's going to be a perfect agenda. Please don't change it. It's as simple as it can possibly get. Run with that. If you are, for example, maybe doing like competition prep coaching or something that's a little like very niche, like we have a couple of pelvic floor therapists, like you might have to add in some sort of evaluation, or you might have to talk about PEDs or something like that, that might be a little bit unique. But again, you can typically fit a lot of that stuff into the I ask you questions phase. So really for 95% of people and coaches, just run with that agenda. I promise you it'll work. But now we both know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. We're not wondering when we're going to get the price. We're going to get there. We just talked about we're going to do it at the end. All right. So we don't want them to ask that vibe killing question of, yeah, I mean, how much does it cost? Because then we both feel a little bit weird about that.
Yeah. It's also like a little key little tip here is try not to ask open-ended questions.
Yep.
So, for example, what is an open-ended question? Do you have any questions? Like, you want to guide them down the path. Like, do you have any questions about the workout routine I talked about? Do you have any questions about the app access? Do you have any questions about our one-on-one conversations we're going to have? And that way it's not open like that, because if you ask it too soon, they're going to be like, how much does it cost? And say, we haven't even got to what it is you do or this, that, whatever. So just be careful with starting off with, do you have any questions at the very, very beginning? Like, you ask all the questions, you do the framework, set it all up, and then you can start to implement some of that stuff. But be super careful that you do not get into the metrics of what you sell versus the emotions of what you're trying to sell. And what I mean by that is when somebody asks, so do you normally do like a push pull, or you're doing like a bro split? Like, well, it's really custom. Why do you ask? Is there one you prefer? Now you revert it and take power over that versus that you going bro split and be like, so do you like 3 or 4 sets? And it's like, now we're getting in the weeds of something that doesn't matter because it's going to be custom to them anyway. So you can potentially basically say it's going to be custom to fit you, but why do you ask? What's more important to you?
Yep. All right. Let's talk through the 3 points here. In the phase where you're asking the prospect questions, it's important to maintain that authority, like Mike's talking about. But during this stage, what we're looking for is to understand the prospect and their motivations at a deeper level, right? We need them to share 2 to 3 deeper, more vulnerable motivations with us so that we know that we've earned their trust and we can move on. It's important because people only buy from people they trust. So for us to be able to establish that trust, we need to be able to get them to share enough with us. And really, it's not just to be able to use this in a sales scenario. It's because if they don't trust you enough to share these things with you, you're not going to be able to be an effective coach for them anyways. So we need them to be able to share 2 or 3 deeper, more vulnerable things with you. So what we want to do is plant some of those questions inside of the application so that we kind of know that if we ask questions around this particular thing that they already answered, they're going to get a little bit deeper on it. And Felicity always talks about as well the 5 whys and how you can just ask why 5 times. And maybe you want to explain that a little bit, Felicity, on how that's important.
Yeah. So I always think about the 5 whys. It's like a little kid running up to you and like, or when you were a little kid, you're always asking why. Well, they're like, Mom, why'd you say no? Why? And you always want to ask why surrounding anybody's question, because it makes them take a deeper perspective into that scenario. So like, why are you feeling this way? Because of this situation. And then why did that situation happen? And like, just keep asking those whys, and it goes into a deeper connection between you and that person, and they'll start to open up. And it also helps too, if you find someone that has more of a wall built up and they're a little bit more short in their answers, just simply asking why, they can't go around that. They can't just give a generic answer. They'll give more and more of an answer as soon as you keep diving deeper and deeper into that. So ask why 5 times. I always say the 7 whys because you want to go even deeper than that.
Yeah, I love that one. So we need to be able to get them to share those 2 or 3 things so that we know that we've earned their trust. And now we have things like Mike was talking about that we can relate to them in the next phase, which is they ask you questions about your program. Again, like Mike was talking about, we want to give them ideally binary options. We don't really want to give them open-ended. Okay, what questions do you have for me? So kind of how I always phrase this, we want to transition and we want to get a micro commitment transitioning to each phase. So, okay, I think I have all the information I need from you. So now if you're ready, we can move on to questions you have for me. Does that sound okay? And they always say yes. So we just added another yes. Awesome. So are you pretty set on working together with me specifically as your coach? Or do you have questions about what that would even look like to work together? Now they're going to say, no, I'm set on working with you. Or they're going to say, I guess, yeah, what does that look like working together? Because we gave them 2 options, right? The human brain thinks binary. That's very important for the very end of this as well. Now, if they say they're set, you can just confirm that they have no other questions at all, and then you can move into your pitch. Ideally, though, they're probably going to be like, yeah, what does it look like? And then you're going to tell them specifically what your program looks like in relation to what they said they needed from you, what they shared in their whys. All right, so if they mention accountability, for example, that's one of the deeper things that they feel like they need as a human being, you might talk about your check-in process. If they mention nutrition, you might talk about how you teach macros and how you educate on macros, and that's the foundation of food in your eyes, and that's what we're going to coach you on. All right, so you need to tailor the deliverables inside of your program. They don't need to know the whole laundry list of everything you're going to provide. I promise. I believe that you sell a premium service, guys. All of you do in your own rights. They don't need to know every single thing you're going to do for them. They need to know you're going to fulfill what they need from you. That's all they care about. So talk about the deliverables in your plan that relate back to what they were looking for working with you as a coach.
Yep.
That's the most important thing. Do you have something you want to add, Felicity?
Nope, just agreeing.
Cool.
100%.
So once you have tailored those 2 to 3 things that they shared and talked about how the specific deliverables in your plan are going to relate back to what they have, I should be feeling as the lead as like, wow, Felicity's program sounds like it was made for me, because the 3 things that she has in it are all 3 things that I have a gap in my life, right? Or in my health and fitness. So then we're going to transition into pricing, right? Step 3. So an example of what this could look like to get one more micro commitment is, okay, so if you don't have any more questions for me, then we can hop into pricing and what it would look like to work together. Is that all right with you? Yes. Awesome. So if you're counting now, that's at minimum 4 yeses that we've gotten throughout this call. And that's not even counting anything that you might have said of like, does that make sense? Or did you get that? Or asking any of that, do you just not feel good in your own skin? It kind of sounds like that's where you're at. Is that right? Yes. Like we can kind of ramp that up, and you'll get better and better at that as you go. But minimum, if you're just following the script, 4 yeses by this point.
Absolutely.
Now, the price, and I want you to kind of talk about this a little bit, Mike. The price, it's extremely crucial for your price that you pitch to not be just one number. It needs to also be binary, okay? Because again, the human brain works binary. It's either yes or no, for or against, Democrat or Republican. The list goes on and on. It's going to be binary thoughts in someone's mind when making a decision. So, Mike, you want to talk about options there for binary pricing?
So no matter what you say or what your pitch is, whether it's one product or multiple, is going to have a binary answer. It is $1,200 for the 12-week program. The binary answer to that is yes or no. Versus if I said, yeah, so we can do, I have the 90-day program is $1,200, and then it's $2,500 if you pay 6 months up front. The binary answer there is 3 months or 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, they have to come up with the word no. Versus you gave them the option when you told them one thing. And so from there, that's how we like to have it, to where it's like, would you like to go here or here? Would you like to use a Visa or MasterCard? Like, depending on how you want to play this out, but it's like they have to come up with no. So what we've tried to do is inside this entire conversation to getting to the price is that we want as many yeses as possible, so no is not in the vocabulary, so that when it comes time, they've got to think of the word no. They haven't been saying the word no. And so it's not easily for them to go, no, I'm not interested, because typically what you never get is no, I'm not interested.
Yep.
What you typically get is what we now have an objection. But obviously if we do all the right whys, we do all the right questions prior, right? Do you have a spouse? Do they know that you're here? Or do they support you on this? That allows you to be able to handle that objection when the time comes. But you want to have this binary option. You want this or this. One thing I'm not going to suggest you do is provide an option being your cheapest option is one of the options. And what I mean by that is that you would be much better off to pitch a 6 or 12-month program. And then from there, when they say, no, I can't, then you have something to go down to. If you just start off with, I'm $350 a month, I'm $300 a month, then your only option is to say, okay, best of luck. Or then you have to discount your service, which makes you not even want to work with the person in the first place. and it's very demoralizing. Also, too, when you do sell a $300, that feels kind of good. When you sell something that has a comma in it, it makes you feel really great.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to encourage you, especially if you're new, to sell something that has a comma in it so that you can finally get that oomph and that boost of confidence that you needed for you and your business. There's nothing like it. And that continues to grow and grow. When you do a sale of first time you sold something for over $100, it made you feel some type of way. And then when you sold something that was over $1,000, it makes you feel some type of way. And then hopefully in the future you get to where you sell something that's got 5 figures in it, that makes you feel some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as you do this, but it's always going to be a binary option, 6 months, 12 months. Would you like to do the same package at 6 months, but it's either 2 calls or 4 calls? I suggest you go here, but it's up to you. Which one do you want to do? That's
Yep.
binary.
Yeah. Anything anything you want to add, Felicity?
No, the binary options, just keep those in mind. Figure out if you guys do have more than, I know a lot of coaches that I work with, they have like 6 different packages. Just choose 2 and have those as your primary and then use the other ones as backup. So keep that in mind when you guys are offering these.
Yeah, and don't recommend something for somebody that you don't think is going to work for them, guys.
Totally.
Again, lead with helping people. So if we don't need to pitch a 3-month program to somebody that wants to lose 50 pounds. They're not going to lose 50 pounds in 3 months, at least not going to do so healthily. Okay.
Mhm.
So it doesn't make sense to throw in your 3 month as an option. If you're going to pitch paid in fulls, maybe you pitch the paid in full for 6 and 12 months. At the same time, if somebody needs to lose 10 pounds, why am I pitching them on a year? They don't need a year to lose 10 pounds. We might post them
Point.
on 3 months or 6 months. And it's the ultimate trust accelerator to say, hey, you could pay me this massive amount of money over here, but I really think this is best for you. It's a massive trust accelerator because you're telling the person, I'm going to sacrifice what I could be making to give you the best thing that I would actually recommend for you as a friend. And that's the ultimate trust accelerator. So don't just pitch stuff just to pitch stuff. You want to make sure that it's in the best interest of who you're trying to sell it to.
I'll give you a third-party example. So me and Paula have committed to doing Mount Kilimanjaro in February, which is a 7-day hike up a mountain 19,000 feet. And we're watching videos online, and one of the tour guides was like, here's the 7 hard truths that no one wants to talk about on Mount Kilimanjaro. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I want to listen to this. And he's a tour guide. And basically was like, 50% of people make it to the top. Do note, you might not make it. You're never 100% safe. So you need to be sure that you're with people that know what they're doing. Because they had 30,000 people and it's a 0.01% chance. It's like, oh, that's 7 people a year die.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my goodness, like I need to make sure I'm with a really good tour guide. Right? And he was like, you can cheap and go budget friendly and go find somebody, but just want to make sure that you got the person that's got the right resources. Because now you've instilled that, hey, there's a chance and high risk of X, Y, and Z and altitude sickness. Are these cheaper places going to have the resources to make sure that I'm safe? Let me go with the guy that's told me all the negatives because he's making it very aware to me so that I can make a smart and educated decision and be like, well, he's telling me the truth. I want to work with him, not sunshine and rainbows over here, because he's just trying to take my money. It's very clear. Even though they might be doing the exact same things, it's just how it's presented. And so for us, it's like when we work with coaches, I will tell them, you're not ready, or you don't need the bigger package, even though you think you do. You'll be perfectly fine and successful right here. Save that money and put it towards something else. And so it's that same concept to where it's like you need to provide the best service for the best individual, not try to make the most money off every person, because your reputation is going to be worth more money than any amount of money one client can pay you. And when you build that better trust, they're going to go tell their friends and people, be like, Mike's a real one. He didn't sell me on the most expensive thing. He sold me on what I needed. And there's there's a lot that goes with that whenever you're talking in the sales, because you got to remember there is going to be a percentage of people that leave the phone call that do not purchase.
Yeah.
What do they say about you is also very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great point, Mike. Well, guys, this entire breakdown is all inside of this worksheet. That's literally what we've been teaching off of this whole time. We've done countless of these calls, taking people through their specific sales scripts based on this actual sales call structure inside of AR Funnel. All of that's down below in the description if you just tell us where to send you the worksheet at, and we will send it over. Okay, and this is what we give to our actual clients every single day. So we hope that you will subscribe. We hope that you will follow along, comment if you got anything out of this. We're doing a ton on YouTube right now, so opt in down there to the follows or to the subscribes, and we'll see you guys on our weekly lives and in our uploads.
Thanks, guys.
See you
Thanks,
guys
guys.
then.